for students to work before the university study. Why? Okay, and let's see what you said. A gap year is a perfect example of a double-edged sword. On one hand, some deem that it could provide financial rewards for students since they could gain significant work experience before enrolling in university courses. On the other hand, others hold that it is detrimental for learners' academic success. This essay subscribes to the former claim, as students could have a greater longevity in their future career and at university. Okay, I liked this until you got here. What does it mean to have greater longevity in your university? Doesn't really make sense, so I would have changed that around. Students could have greater longevity in their workforce and be more successful at university. Maybe that. Okay, that's just one suggestion. All right, let's move on. It has often been asserted that higher education fees are exponentially increasing. Thus, working for up to 1 year could provide a positive outcome for students' finances. Here you need an apostrophe after the students. According to a highly cited scientific paper published by Milan University, researchers found that the student loan industry reached an evaluation is the wrong word, of over $1 trillion. As a consequence of that, learners struggle to repay their debts, not repair, repay, increasing their stress levels. Therefore, it is clear for a student willing to major in a university, a gap year is a great way to cover the majority of the education fees and consequently avoid severe economic repercussions. Okay, okay, fine. However, one school of thought holds the notion that being on track on the university curriculum pathways, singular, pathway, is pivotal to obtain a university qualification. Researchers at Rome's University, that doesn't make sense, Rome University, discovered that in Italy, over 20% of ex-college students who had previously worked 1 year after high school left university within their first 6 months because they lost motivation. That being said, there is compelling evidence that were students to be determined in their lives, the benefits of a gap year offset the relative drawbacks. Okay, I don't like this sentence very much, Nabil, for a couple of reasons. Grammatically, it started off very interesting. It started off like a, complex grammatical sentence, but then you kind of lost it. And also, I didn't really like the message of it. I mean, you're supposed to be talking about, supposedly you're talking about how it's not a good idea to take a gap year. So let's talk about this. Okay, first of all, grammatically. That being said, there is compelling evidence that were students determined with regard to their studies, the benefits of a gap year offset the relative drawbacks. Grammatically, that makes a little more sense because it doesn't make sense to say to be determined in your life. All right, that doesn't really make sense. So that was the problem with that sentence there. However, I don't really like that you we're basically talking about the opposite side of the argument here, and then all of a sudden at the end of the paragraph you said, yeah, that's true, but hey, look. So this doesn't make sense that you had some completely switched perspectives this late in the paragraph. When you do something like this really affects your coherence and cohesion score, because then it doesn't feel like there's one central argument. It's like, yes, you were talking about the drawbacks of a gap year, but then you're like, hey, yeah, but you know what? Those drawbacks aren't so serious. So that really seems rather strange. Let's look at your conclusion and we'll talk a little bit more about this. In the final analysis, there are several positive outcomes for students who decide to reap some benefits before attending university lectures. Not lectures, just say university. Okay, because it's not the lectures alone that are beneficial, but it's the actual university experience. Not only does it increase learners' financial health, but it is also beneficial for the mental well-being. Oh, okay, because you said they had stress. All right, fine. All right, that was fine. Now I want to talk about this a little bit, okay? Now, in your introduction, you mentioned what the two sides of the debate were, and then you said that you subscribed to the former claim, saying that they could gain positive work experience. So, look what you did. You decided to talk about this, the first claim, about it being positive here, and then you talked about it being negative here, okay? And then you went back to this initial idea about it being positive. So, there are a couple of problems with the way you organize this. First of all, a good rule of thumb and a good habit of a habit to get into is put your concession paragraph here. The concession paragraph is when we talk about the opposite side of the argument. Okay, so it's a good idea to put your concession paragraph right after your introduction. Okay, because one of the things we do when we debate or when we argue is we leave our strongest argument for last. Okay, so talk about the side that you don't really agree with, and then talk about the side that you do agree with, and then this links much better with your conclusion. It gives it weight. It acts like an anchor. So that's a good idea to just get into the habit of doing. Not everybody says to do this, but it is considered one of the appropriate ways to do a paragraph, to organize your essay. Concession, then your argument, and then the conclusion. And then your argument links better with your conclusion. All right, that's one thing. The second thing is that if you did that, this sentence here would have made a little more sense, okay? Because oops, what did I just do? I didn't mean to do that. Anyway, I changed my color settings. That's why this is strange. Okay, so then this sentence might have made a little more sense. I still don't like it. I still don't think you should have switched sides at this point in your paragraph. But at least it would have flowed better into the next paragraph. Okay? That's another thing. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about here is why you even had a concession paragraph to begin with. It says, do you think it's better for students to work before the university study? Why? Now, you told us you think, yes, I do think it is. Okay, and so we have absolutely no understanding, both from the question and from your introduction, why you have given us a concession paragraph. Do I think that concession paragraphs are a good idea? Yeah, I do. I think they add a certain richness to the essay. I think that they show that the essay is not simple, the issue is not simple, and that it has some complexities that are worth exploring. But if you do that, you need to kind of prepare the examiner with your thesis statement. Okay? So here, while you use this expression, this essay subscribes to the former claim, etc., etc., and that was nice. I like that you did that. But you still need to kind of clue the examiner that you're going to talk about the opposite side of way, and that you opposite side as well, and that you do find some value in this opposite side. So let me show you what you could have done. So this essay subscribes to the former claim. Students could have whatever we said before, despite the fact that some students have been found to lose motivation. Okay? Or, even better would be, while some students who take a gap year lose motivation for university study, I believe that a gap year could help students to achieve greater longevity in their workforce, in their future career, and have a more successful university experience. Okay, that would have made sense. And so you need to let the examiner know that you are going to explore both sides, and that's one way to do it. Okay, because when you tell us that you just you subscribe to the former and you don't say anything about the validity of the other point of view, then when you put it here, it doesn't really make sense to us. Now, that's not the case with a discuss the advantages and disadvantages essay, because we know that you're going to discuss the advantages and disadvantages. But in this kind of essay where you don't necessarily have to give both sides, when you do give both sides, you need to make it clear to us from your introduction. Okay? All right, we spent a lot of time on that, so I want to go on to your next. Where is it? There it is. Okay. World spending and population. Okay, fine. Okay. So the bar charts illustrate the global spending of 5 different categories. Okay, it's not the global spending of, it's the global spending in 5 different categories. It's the global spending of 5 countries or 5 continents. I didn't really read it closely. Okay, it's the ones who are doing the spending. But these are categories, so it's spending in 5 categories. And the proportion of the worldwide population. Overall, it is clear that the majority of people live in Asian cities, and almost half of the global expenditures are towards other items. Okay, let's see that. Okay. Apart from others purchases, that doesn't make sense. Others is always a really awkward category because, like, how do you write it without it sounding like you're using the word other? What you could do is you could put it in quotes, and that helps. And then you don't make it plural. So that would have been a nice way to do this. Okay, so you could have done here, quotes, here, quotes. So apart from other purchases that represent no S, 40% of global spending, get rid of the majority of people's finances are invested in grocery shopping and transport. The former accounts for nearly 1/4 of the total spending, while the latter, no, while the percentages of the latter are slightly lower, 18%. It is noteworthy that shopping costs constitute half of housing expenditures. Shopping costs. Oh, all right. So no, I mean, because food is also a type of shopping. So you could talk about clothing. Let's see. That clothing costs constitute half of housing expenditures, 6 and 12% percentage. So moving on. Moving to the distribution of the population, more than half are ubicated in Asia. Europe and Americas account for the same proportion. Okay, fine. This should have been the Americas. The Americas account for the same proportion, 14%. You should have said each inside. While African people are double those of the remaining countries, 10% versus 5. Okay. In the final analysis, it seems to be the case that Asia dominates with an S the world in terms of population growth, not growth, just population. And more than half of people's apostrophe S budget is allocated for primary necessities. Okay, that's fine. I thought this was pretty good overall. A couple little errors, but it was a nice task one. It was well written. It was well organized. Let me see something here. Okay. I also have to say one last thing about this. You want to change this word because I don't even believe, at least I can't locate it, that being used this way in English. I know it's used in other languages, but I have major doubts as to whether it's used in English. So change that word as well. All right. It was a good set overall. Let me take a look at your task 1 again, your task 2 again. Yes. So for me, it was really the structural stuff, the coherence and cohesion elements here that I thought needed to be worked on a little bit. But on the whole, good job. Okay, so let's see another set from you and good luck.